Alright, here it goes again. I'm gonna try another non-Save the Earth Melee Godzilla video. Anyone like my custom tank top? I went to college for computer science, and that's technically considered a STEM field. So I just wanted to make a tank that had this as a joke on it. We interrupt this program to bring you Henry's girlfriend coming in to talk about bird feeders. Anyway, well, hopefully this video won't be for the birds. As a child, I like to browse all the various information and video game pages and cutting room floor pages on the Toho Kingdom website, as I'm sure any other person my age did when they were a child, when we were kind of in the Godzilla doldrums. There was one game that always really intrigued me. You might not be able to tell because I'm always, wearing tank tops and showing off my physique, trying to look like a super Chad, stuff like that. But I'm actually not much of an athlete. After I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I made it a point after a little while to go to the gym every single day of the week. And that was before I got a girlfriend. So I pretty much went every day, and I also swam like 16 laps minimum every day. I was usually in the pool for at least 45 minutes to an hour. But my point in saying all of that is really just to highlight that I was never a sports guy. I never played baseball or basketball. I was never on the soccer team during the summertime. And for Europeans, yes, football. I went to a small private school, so we didn't have a football team, an American football team. But I could never really shake it fully that I did kind of enjoy certain sporting things, at least within the context of video games. For example, growing up, I had Mario Power Tennis on the Wii, the new Play Control version. I also had Mario Super Sluggers. I didn't have any of the Mario Strikers games. Most of the stuff that I was interested in terms of sports, obviously, because I like movies, and I love good movies, I was into Rocky. So Rocky Legends on the PlayStation 2 was one of the best games for me and my brother growing up. I've watched a bunch of the UFC. All of that is to say that the game Battle Soccer, which apparently only came out in Japan, for some reason it just really intrigued me. I just liked the idea of a Godzilla soccer game. So I want to kind of go over that today, just go over what Toho Kingdom has on its website, and we can just talk about it. There's the little Gundam there. This was a crossover game. I think Godzilla really had a lot of crossovers way before I was born. Most of the cool shit didn't happen after I was born. Only recently, with the fact that Legendary Pictures is owned by who it's owned by, I think it's Warner Brothers, we've gotten the Godzilla Kong versus the Justice League thing. Well, I have a cupcake now. Just gonna let this sit over here. Anyway, shall we? Yeah, this came out in 1992. This was in the peak of the Heisei era. What console was this on? Oh, it said it was on the Super Nintendo. I could probably download this on an emulator. I think I have a Super Nintendo emulator. Each character has a super move. I do remember that. They have different stats. They have a normal field, sand field, metal field, and dark field, all of which are hopelessly generic, which probably makes sense considering it's a crossover. They probably didn't want to touch any of the toes of any of the franchises. Alright, here's the juicy part. Playable teams. So they have Godzilla, Ultraman, a Gundam team, a Kamen Rider team, King Ghidorah team, I guess the Ultraman villain team? This was way before Ultraman Belial or any of that stuff existed, at least as far as I know, so Ultraman fans correct me if I'm wrong. If I remember correctly, they just put a bunch of random enemy kaiju onto a team. Mobile Busters, I presume that's just the enemy Gundam team, same deal with the Shadow Crushers, it's just the enemy Kamen Rider team. Okay, let's start with the Godzilla team. Rodan, Godzilla, King Caesar, Jet Jaguar. Jet Jaguar is just the mook of the team. There's just a million of him. Boring. King Caesar's got an interesting ability there. Why do I feel like Godzilla's move probably wouldn't be very good? Hardcore Battle Soccer players, please tell me I'm wrong. Rodan is the goalie. That makes sense considering his wingspan. Why do I feel like this coloration of Rodan should be a skin in Godzilla Save the Earth Melee? Why does it... Oh, it's a sonic boom. I would feel like the goalies would have an ability that's more defensive in nature. The fact that the game is so old is probably why they didn't have a ton of other characters. But even amongst the 1992 roster of Godzilla stuff, I feel like you could have, Gorosaurus could have been a character. Varan could have been a character. Minya! As weird as it is to say, Minya could have been a character. Also, Jet Jaguar should have had size-changing abilities on the field. field. Like, I'm just thinking of the giant Jet Jaguar kick in Save the Earth. Obviously, that didn't exist at this point. But I mean, the size-changing gimmick could have been cool. That probably wasn't in there due to technical limitations. Also, why isn't there a second Rodan? Because weren't there 2 Rodans in the original Rodan film? Also, where the hell's Mothra? Like, screw the larva form. You could have just put adult Mothra in there somewhere. Kong, I imagine, was left out because that's an even bigger rights nightmare. At least at the time that the game came out. Okay, let's look at the King's soldiers. That feels so real, which I guess fits King Ghidorah. But considering this came out in 1992, the last thing that released was Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. I'm already gonna bet, as far as I remember, I don't even think Mecha King Ghidorah's in here. King Ghidorah being the goalie makes sense. Showa Mechagodzilla makes sense. I guess technically Heisei Mechagodzilla, Super Mechagodzilla didn't exist yet, so it makes sense that he wasn't on the Godzilla team. Although I imagine if you made a Battle Soccer now, that would probably be one of Godzilla's teammates. Gigan, and then 5 Titanosaurus. If I remember correctly, that's a thing that's very common in this game, is that you have like 1 or 2 or 3 unique members of the team, and then you just have like a swarm of just generic mooks. At which point, Titanosaurus makes sense. Although, I feel like having 5 Mechagodzillas might make more sense. I think it's probably a balancing thing. Without knowing how the game plays, I imagine that Mechagodzilla Super, as described here, is probably more useful than that which was given to the Titanosauruses. Titanosauri? Titana people. Okay, this will give me a little bit of a gauge for where Ultraman was at this time. Because Ultraman's a younger franchise, but it's also got way more stuff in it. I have a bunch of the Steelbooks, but I haven't watched any of them. Ultraman Taro. I feel like he was either the next Ultraman after the original, or he was either 2 or 3. He wasn't very far, but I could be wrong on that. Ultraman Great. Bright barely looks any different. I don't remember this one. I've done some digging on Ultraman. I don't remember Ultraman Great being one of the ones that particularly stuck with me. Ultra 7. I think he might have been the next one after the original. He's distinct enough. The sprite looks different. Ultraman Ace. Again, the sprite is pretty different. I don't remember much when I've read about Ultraman Ace. Okay, so there's 4 random Ultramen just on the team. Okay, this one's gonna be interesting. The Super Beasts. These are the enemy Ultraman characters. King Joe probably makes sense as a goalie, but I haven't watched what he's from. I just know he's very iconic. Kylazy? Killazy? I don't know this one. Zeton, that makes sense. Ella King comes from a franchise of Ultraman that I haven't watched, but that one's obvious. I know he's one of the most popular ones. Ace Killer, same deal. Although that one's probably from Ultraman Ace, given the name. Walton's one of the most iconic ones. Chugara? Why is this the first one that's a recruit only? And what does that mean? What really surprises me is that neither Gamora nor Red King are in any of these Ultraman rosters. I don't know anything about Gundam or the Masked Riders, the Kamen Riders. I'll look at them on here anyway, and I'll cut things out that don't matter. My reaction to all of this information is cool. Same here. Although there's another recruit-only character. There's only 2 of them at this point. Why is it that they're only on these teams? I've seen a lot of Kamen Rider GIFs on Twitter. I followed the, Tokusatsu GIFs Twitter account, but I don't know anything about this other than I know Kamen Rider is, based off of, Beatles or something. And much like every other thing, Kamen Rider has been diminished, and there's 5 of him on the team. Kamen Rider Stronger. Wonderful. Beautiful naming scheme. Stronger! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth! Apparently, according to Mr. Anthony Romero, this game is ridiculously mid, if not a little bit lesser than that. Some YouTube gameplay. I'll link this video in the description, and obviously I'll just cut out all the stuff that doesn't matter. I assume they're selecting the team. This looks very much like an SNES game. Never mind, I cut out most of that. That wasn't really interesting. I don't know why, but as a child, I really liked coming up with ideas for video games. Stuff that would never get made. For some reason, I was envisioning a 3D FIFA-esque, Mario Strikers-esque sequel to that game. Obviously, I know now as an adult it would be a legal nightmare, and all the franchises involved have ballooned so much. The only one who I don't know about the current state of is Gundam. But I know Godzilla has ballooned as a franchise, Ultraman has ballooned as a franchise. As far as I understand it, Kamen Rider's still going. I do believe there was a sequel. There was a Battle Soccer 2, but Godzilla was like conspicuously absent from it. I don't know when it released though. I believe it was also on the Super Nintendo. And based on what I watched, we weren't losing very much by not having Godzilla in it. But for some reason, I know games like FIFA and stuff sell bank every year, right? Because people aren't smart enough to realize that Electronic Arts is the people in charge. And they're filled with microtransactions and shit. But from what I understand, football is really popular like down in South America and over in Europe. So having Godzilla in like a soccer game with like other franchises would probably sell really well. But as we know, they just don't want to put the money into stuff like that anymore. And when I mean they, I just mean like generic game publishers. This is probably the only way you could ever get me to buy a new sports game, would be to have Godzilla in it and have like Godzilla Soccer or Godzilla Basketball or Godzilla anything really. Obviously for combat sports, I would just go straight to an actual Godzilla fighting game, kind of like Save the Earth Melee, etc. I don't know why I wanted to talk about this, to be honest. I just thought it would be neat. And a lot of people don't know about this, I think. It's part of the franchise I feel like that just gets brushed under the rug, and only the people who are like really obsessed with Godzilla know about it. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think about Field No Hasha, Battle Soccer, or its sequel, which I didn't even go over because there is no Godzilla in it, so it's not on Toho Kingdom, so I don't even see the point in looking it up. I barely know anything about this game. Ultraman and Godzilla is the only stuff that I could feasibly have interesting opinions on with this game. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think. I don't know when this will come out, what its follow-up will be, but it'll probably be something more Godzilla related. I just doubt anyone's making any content about stuff like this, so it's kind of an empty market, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, you guys take it easy. Let me know what you think in the comments, leave a like, and I will see you guys in the next video.